In lab number 3, titled Using the NetBackup Administrative Interface, we will take a look at exploring the NetBackup Administration Console for both the master server and the media server. We will also take a look at the Op Center user web interface, as well as exploring the NetBackup Archive and Restore GUI, which is commonly referred to as the bar GUI on the client. One of the first things you can see here on the master server is the NetBackup Administration Console. We have a tree view off to the left. The host name of the master server will always appear at the top of the tree view, and what you have selected in the tree view will show up in the results pane. If you highlight the master server at the top of the tree view, you will always see the wizards that are available for NetBackup. These wizards have been implemented to ease the configuration of NetBackup. The first one you can see here is the Getting Started wizard. So if you're not too sure where to go from here, the Getting Started wizard will actually walk you through several different wizards altogether. You can see we've got the Configure Storage Devices, Configure Storage Servers, Configure Cloud Storage Servers, Configure Disk Pools, Configuring your volumes, Configuring the catalog backups, Configuring a policy, and I'll scroll down a little bit just to show you. You've got Importing Images, there's a wizard for that as well, and then Recovering the Catalog. Through the administration course here, we will do majority of our labs through these wizards, just to show you how easy it is to get NetBackup configured for your environment. Let's take a look at the Activity Monitor. When we highlight the Activity Monitor in the tree view pane, you will be able to see the topology view, which is the top part. In the topology view, we can see that we have a master server, a media server, and then a Windows server, which also has NetBackup server software installed on it. If we had a configured NetBackup environment, there would be tape drives and disk drives to also show the topology of your NetBackup environment. So we will revisit this after we have been through a few of the different labs to display the rest of the topology view. To be able to toggle back and forth between viewing the topology view, there is a little icon off to the right hand side. To maximize this, we can select the maximize button, and now you can actually see, if you've got a larger environment, you'll be able to see the total environment in that topology view on the results pane. If we select the button again, we can see that we're bringing back up the bottom half of this diagram here. On the Jobs tab, you would normally see jobs that have been kicked off via NetBackup. Because this is a fresh installation, there aren't any jobs to view, but we will be revisiting this screen several times throughout this course. Under the Services tab, we can see all the different services that NetBackup is running. Let's make this side of the screen a little bit larger. We're going to go ahead and click the full screen, the maximize button, off to the right hand side to show you all the different services that may or may not be running in your environment. These are easily customizable. You can click and drag to view more information about the different titles that would be given to any one of these services. At the bottom of the screen here, you can also see next to services is processes, and these are all the processes that are currently running in this NetBackup environment. Again, any one of these columns can be clicked on to sort the processes in alphabetical order. And the drives is the last tab. Now, the difference between a Windows and a Unix environment is Drives tab is only available on the Windows environment. If you were running this in a Unix environment, you will not have the Drives tab available to you. We'll click back on Jobs tab just so you can see what that would look like once we have jobs in the jobs queue. Underneath the NetBackup side of the software program, we have several different categories. The first one is reports. I'll click the plus button to display all the different types of reports that are available. We'll have a whole lab also set aside just to dive in deeper into how the reports will get run. The next option beneath this is the policies. Again, no policies are created by default. We will be working on setting up policies in a later lab. Next is storage as well. We have some concepts: storage units, storage unit groups, and storage life cycles. Being that this is a fresh installation, none of these categories have been configured at this point. Underneath the host properties, this is another way to tell information about your NetBackup environment. We will have master servers. Those would list your master server. The media servers area would actually list all the different media servers in your environment. And then the clients. The clients would list any clients that have been configured in a policy. And since we don't have any policies configured at this point, we don't have any clients listed here quite yet. I'm going to go back up to the master servers and to right click and choose properties, and this will open up all the properties of the master server. As you can see, there are several different items that you can configure in your NetBackup environment, so much so that there actually is a scroll bar to review all of the different properties for this. The one I just wanted to draw your attention to is the servers. This is important to note. The servers, it's listing here your master server host name. That's what you use to do the installation. We have an additional servers tab, a media servers tab, an Op Center servers tab. Most people get a little confused about the difference between additional servers and the media servers. Additional servers being listed in here would have full access. These media servers would have full access to the administration console to basically change, add, delete items from that server. If you want reduced rights, you would need to select the media server tab. These media server tab cannot access the master server console from that media server. I believe this is visited later on in another lab as well. We'll demonstrate this. So at this point I'm going to select cancel to get out of that window. And I'm going to show you on the media and device management. Underneath that is device monitor. This is another area you might find some helpful information once you have your devices configured. This will show you how your devices, if they're up and running or if there's an issue with any one of your devices. Underneath the media section in here, you can see there's volume pools, and by default there are volume pools already configured within NetBackup. You can see that there's the None pool, the NetBackup pool, the Data Store pool, and the Catalog Backup pool. In the Media and Volume pool lab, we will discuss these in greater detail. You can see robots, and if you have any standalone drives that would have been configured, they would appear, their volumes would appear in here as well. We'll collapse the media and select the plus button to expand the devices. In here you would be able to see the drives that would have been configured in the robots and the topology view, much like the topology view that we saw off the activity monitor. Underneath the credentials, there's the ability to take a look at any disk array hosts that would have been configured, your NDMP hosts, And later on in a later lab, we will discuss storage servers, how to configure those, as well as virtual machine servers. Let's take a look at accessing the administration console from a media server as opposed to a master server. We're going to move over to the Win Media Server host. We will locate the NetBackup administration console on the desktop. We will open the console, and by default NetBackup will automatically open the console to the master server. As you can see here in the tree view pane, it connects into Win Master, and that's because of the host properties. It was configured to be an additional server, so it will automatically connect into the master server. To change this, you can select the change server entry here, and we can actually type in that we want to add in Win Media and add that to the list of hosts. And as we wait for this to appear, we can now see that we are contacting basically the host itself, the Win Media Server, and you can see that there's a greatly reduced set of options to be able to configure things on this host. We see that we only have media and device management. We can monitor its devices. We can view media information, and we can view direct device information about this specific host. We would not be able to get the global view that the master server offers. And we can select back on Change Server, and again select the master server. And notice how the Win Media Server is now in the list of optional hosts to choose. And we'll click OK. And at this point it's now going back into the Win Master to be able to show you a full tree view of all the different components that are available for configuration. This is as if you were logged into the master server. Anything that you would do here would be a direct reflect of what would actually be done if you were on the master server itself. Next, we're going to take a look at the Op Center application. This is a web-based application as opposed to the NetBackup Administration Console. Op Center is a separately licensed product or separately installed product. There also is an additional license key that you can install for the analytics side of Op Center. What Op Center allows you is it provides a monitoring and reporting capabilities of your NetBackup environment. We have now installed the Op Center application on our Win server host. You should see a web user interface log on the desktop. I'm going to double click on the web interface to bring up the login console. In Internet Explorer, sometimes the security settings are set high, so we will just select the continue to that website. I'm going to increase the size of this window to show you information in here. We will select to enter in the username, which the default username is admin. And then the password is password. Please make note that your domain name should always be Op Center Users. If by any chance there is a different option in here, you can select the drop-down arrow to pick Op Center Users. If for whatever reason Op Center Users is not available to you, you may have something gone wrong in the installation, and it's suggested to do some troubleshooting. Off on the right-hand side of the screen is documentation. You can see that the Symantec Op Center Administrator's Guide. There's the NetBackup Technical Support. There's the NetBackup Support Forums. white papers, search the knowledge base. Most of these will actually link you to the Symantec website. We're going to select Log On. As we wait a moment for the GUI to open up and view what Op Center has to offer, the biggest portion of this is the ability to be able to view how your NetBackup environment is doing. The default tab is underneath the Monitor section. This is where you'll be able to monitor the heartbeat of your master server. Underneath the Manage tab, these will be areas that you'll be able to manage your NetBackup environment. Not all components of the NetBackup environment can be managed from the Op Center. Here you can see you can set up alerts for your policies, your storage destinations, devices. You can do restores, host information, and deployment analysis. One of the major areas of Op Center that gets utilized is under the reports. There are hundreds of customizable reports. There are a few canned reports that come with the Op Center product. I'm going to collapse the tree view just to show you an idea. We've got auditing reports, there's backup reports, catalog, chargeback reports. Most of the chargeback area you will probably need the analytic key in order to unlock those reports. Client reports, cloud reports, there's disk and tape device activity, hold reports for your restores, media reports, performance reports, policy reports, and restore reports. We will be revisiting several of these reports later on in a future lab. The Search and Hold tab is brand new with NetBackup 7.5. This would give you the ability to search for specific client backups or files, folders. Any of that type of information can be indexed in that policy, which gives you the ability to search for those, and you can even hold those until those particular files that you would like to restore until you have a grouping of them, which could either consist of the same client or multitude of clients. The last tab that we're going to get into is the Settings tab. Underneath is the sub-tabs. We want to select Configuration. Before you can do anything in Op Center, you do need to configure this Op Center to point at a specific NetBackup master server or several master servers. So under Configure, you'll notice that there are several sub-tabs that run across here, from NetBackup, agents, licensing, data purge, all the way across to object type. As far as NetBackup is concerned, if you don't on a fresh installation, you will need to select Add to add your master server hostname to the list to start the data collection to be able to view this information and to populate the Op Center to monitor that and manage it and also run reports. As you can see, if we highlight the option for the master server, down below towards the bottom you can see general information about that master server, the operating system, the host name, product information, when was it last connected, what state is it in, connected or unconnected. So if you notice that you've got problems with monitoring the information, not everything seems to be coming through correctly, you can see whether or not this master server is connected to the Op Center. Underneath the state option, it will either say connected or disconnected for data collection. Underneath the data collection status, there'll be a whole listing of all the different types of data types to be collected. And you can see the last time that it was successful, the last time it ran, the actual time frame. It was on there in any kind of messages. I'm going to just scroll through this to see all the different types of data collections that come through to be able to provide you information in the reports. So if you had several master servers, you can highlight the master servers or put a check in the checkbox of the master servers individually, or you can choose the CHOP checkbox to select all of them to view all master servers at the same time to check in on those hosts. Next, we're going to take a look at the NetBackup client side of the application. We are now located under Win Client. You should have on the desktop a Backup, Archive, and Restore GUI shortcut. We can double click on the bar GUI, which is what it's commonly referred to as. And you'll notice on the splash screen it does mention that it is the NetBackup client side and that it was NetBackup 7.5 version. This is much smaller than what the administration console is. As you can see, we've got a few different tabs that run across the top. Here we've got select for backups. We also have select for restores, and then to be able to view the status. It's kind of like the client version of the activity monitor. If clients are set up for this on the master server, they can actually do their own backup jobs. We will get into that in the policy and backup section of a later lab. By selecting the select for backup section, you can see that they do get a view of what their system looks like and what they would like to actually back up. If we had done backups, you can click on the select for restores, and in this particular instance we do get a warning message basically stating that there aren't any items, there's no backups to be able to browse for anything to do a restore for. We have not done any backups on this host here as of yet. Closing these two windows, what I'd like to show you is underneath the File menu, you can select the NetBackup client properties. So specifically, you can set up criteria on how you would like this client to behave, maybe differently than other clients in your environment, and this information is then saved for this specific client. They have tabs that run across the top. There's the General tab, the Exclude List, Include List, the Backups, Network, and Troubleshooting options. This is the Windows side of the bar GUI. If we move over to the Linux client, we can access the bar GUI from the Linux side on here. Let's see what directory structure we are in, doing a PWD. For this, we're in the NetBackup directory structure. We're going to change directories to the bin directory structure. We need to find the JBPSA to launch the client side of the bar GUI. On here it's going to ask us to log in. I will log in with the password for the client. And you can see here the title bar is for Backup, Archive, and Restore. We're launching the client side. The one main difference between Windows client GUI and the Linux client GUI or the Java GUI is the look and feel of this. It is significantly different. Here you can see we do have some tabs. They look a little bit more tab-like than in the Windows GUI, but we still have the backup files. We can select this and view the directory structure of our host. Underneath the restore files, it's going to basically ask us what type of restore do you want to do. And then of course the task progress. This would actually show you, if you had done a backup job, it will actually show you the progress of that backup job. Or if you'd done a restore, it would show you the progress of that restore. The nice thing about this as well is that from the master server in the NetBackup administration console is that you will also be able to view the progress of any client backups or any of the restores from the master server. So in addition to viewing it on the client, you can see it on the master server side. One area to show you is underneath the Actions menu. You can select Specify Backup Machines and Policy Types. In here, it basically will ask you your server, which is going to be our Win Master server, and where we're going to get information from. You can also select on the Restore section, they want to know where are you going to be browsing for information. What source was originally part of that backup job, and this is where you can select to either go underneath the Actions section and specify NetBackup machine and policy type information, or on the Java console there's a little button off to the right hand side, the Properties button, and you can select the Properties button to select the master server. Some clients might be connected to more than one master server, so this is so you can enter in different master servers depending on which master server was responsible for hosting that backup job. And you may want to, restore files to different locations, so depending on where the source, who is the initial backup client, and then where do you want to send that data to, you'll set up the source and destination client. And then you'll have to also set up what type of policy was used from the source client to do this backup job. If everything was selected correctly, once you clicked on OK, you would see a whole listing of all the different files that would be available for restores. In this instance, we have not configured any policies to do any restores, so therefore we don't have any information in here to restore from, but we will definitely be visiting this GUI later on.